Greetings, folks. Eeler here with a World of Warships clan battle to share with you. This is a match sent in to me by my STW Delta colleague Jimijaz, who is sailing in the premium Tier 8 Pan-Asian destroyer, the Loyang. In this match, STW Delta is playing against another North America clan, WNNR, and each team brings a very capable competitive battleship, 2 Baltimores, a Prince Eugen, and 2 destroyers to the match. Jimijaz's build is typical for competitive play with radiolocation, and he also takes the torpedo armament expertise skill to get those torpedoes off a little more quickly. This match is going to highlight a couple of important points. One is to always persevere even when you're behind, which I suppose is true in any match, whether you're dealing with clan battles or otherwise. But it's also going to have some interesting choices made by one of the teams late in the game that will affect the outcome, and hopefully it will be fairly evident what those choices are by that team. We started off with Jimijaz and his allied Kid on the west flank, driving off an opposing Lightning who is backed up by the Prince Eugen. And I found some of the tactics here for both teams is kind of interesting because the STW Delta clan has elected to send both of their destroyers to the same flank. Usually my experience is that with 2 destroyers in the team, that they'll send 1 destroyer to 1 cap that's easily taken by the allied team, and that would be backed up by typically a radar cruiser that could help drive off an opposing destroyer that was on the same side. And then the rest of the team, including the 2nd destroyer, would go to the more heavily contested cap, which in this case on this map is the Alpha cap. But interestingly, like I said, STW has elected to take both destroyers to the east side, and the opposing team has sent their Prince Eugen over here. And again, usually my experience is that the opposing team would send a radar cruiser to the weak side to help back up any allied destroyer. But Prince Eugen, being a long-range artillery cruiser with very good AP, usually likes to be on a flank where it can fire on opposing cruisers. And the Prince Eugen isn't getting that benefit here because he's having to focus on defending his Lightning. The Allied team has now just given up their first ship, the Baltimore, over at Alpha. And what's going to end up happening is the Allied team will push their North Carolina into the Alpha cap to basically tank and try to help establish some control over that cap area. I am going to move the replay ahead here shortly because mainly what's going to happen here is the Kid and Jimijaz here on the Allied team are going to eventually take down the Lightning, but what's going to happen is and in fact the Kid, Jimijaz's allied Kid, is also going to get taken out here on this side shortly, and I will transition past that point because Jimijaz will have spent a considerable amount of time sort of shadowing the Prince Eugen, trying to move in on the cap, or at least keeping him pushed back. Now, like I said, I've moved ahead here. The Allied team has successfully pushed through Alpha and has taken that cap, but they are, again, losing ships. They've just lost the Prince Eugen, so the Allied team does have the lead. They are even on ship, but I don't know if you could see earlier, the Allied North Carolina is almost down as well. In fact, he has just now gone down to the opposing Prince Eugen. And that leaves just Jimijaz and the Baltimore, and even the Baltimore is going to go down here shortly because the opposing team still has their battleship. Now what Jimijaz is going to do here is he is going to enter the Charlie cap, and there, in fact, now we've just lost the Baltimore. So it's just Jimijaz against 3 ships. He is RPF'd. That's pretty common since the opposing team does have 1 destroyer left. Although it's not uncommon in some of these very competitive clans that all of the ships, or virtually all of the ships, will have radio location, often because there's no carrier, and so they don't have to spec into any anti-air skills and can take radio location instead. So Jimijaz is going to circle back here and drive into the Charlie cap. Now the Allied team is currently behind, but they hold 2 caps. And Jimijaz knows that he can't obviously shoot his way out of this problem. He's got to use between his torpedoes and his stealth and his capping ability. Fortunately, both opposing radar cruisers are down. Jimijaz is going to have a fairly easy time, as long as he keeps the Prince Eugen lit, to be able to take this cap. So his plan is to take this cap. That will help give his team a lead and hopefully give them enough time that he can, maybe sink another ship and still win the game. Now, one thing that we don't know is we don't know where the opposing Ognavoy is right now. He was last detected at the Hotel 3 sector, but has not moved into the Alpha Cap just yet, which at this point I thought was kind of unusual, given how much time he had to be able to move into that cap, and now he has just moved in. But Jimijaz's team has now taken the lead, and Jimmy has now secured the Charlie Cap. But Jimmy needs to move out here because the Prince Eugen is reclosing on the Charlie Cap, and he has 6-kilometer hydro, and Jimijaz is not going to want to stick around and see if his hydro is active and is going to need to drive away. This was kind of a suboptimal torpedo send because the Eugen is going to be able to avoid most, if not all, of these torpedoes. I don't remember if he ends up taking one. Maybe he does right on his bow. Yes, he does. So he may have had hydro running, but may not have been able to avoid all the torpedoes. Now, the other thing that you'll notice is the opposing Vladivostok is moving north toward the Bravo Cap. Now, for the opposing team, they have a ship lead. They've secured Alpha, and they're securing Charlie, and Jimmy really can't do anything to stop them from taking Charlie at this point. He has no other ships that can spot for him, so he can't defend that cap. And that is the fact that they're going to get a second cap is going to allow them to retake the lead fairly quickly here. But as I mentioned earlier, the Vladivostok is moving toward the Bravo Cap, and this is where I mentioned earlier about what might be some teachable moments. In my opinion, there's no need at this point for the Vladivostok to move forward. There's no need for the opposing team to go and chase after Jimijaz. They've secured 2 caps. They have a ship lead. They have the cap lead. They're going to take a point lead here in a couple of minutes. And so long as they just keep Jimijaz out from attempting to contest the 2 caps that they do hold, the Vladivostok should just back off, and the Ognavoy can come forward and try to detect torpedoes and spot Jimijaz if necessary. So Jimijaz has now sent 2 sets of torpedoes. You notice that he's sort of staggered them. His intention here, obviously, one is trying to anticipate the movements of the Vladivostok, but also this can be a tactic that if you get one torpedo with flooding, and that gets damage controlled, and then they take another torpedo after their damage control is off, they take flooding again, that flood will stick. Now, interestingly, he got a torpedo, and then very shortly thereafter got another torpedo from the same set on a ship. So it was kind of, Jimijaz and I, when we were watching this, thought it was kind of odd. And then Jimijaz realized that one of the torpedoes hit the Vladivostok, who then flooded out, and then he also realized that he hit the Ognavoy with a torpedo and has gotten the Ognavoy down with low enough health that he's going to be able to finish off the Ognavoy with guns here. In fact, I think it's with that Selvas. He finishes him off. And now Jimijaz's team wins the game. So kind of an interesting outcome. Again, in my opinion, the WNNR clan didn't really have a need to push forward against the Bravo Cap as aggressively as they did, but maybe they felt like that was the right thing for them to do. I'm not sure, but it was very well played on by both teams, and so hats off to both of them. So I hope you thought the replay and the commentary was interesting. Please do leave your comments below, and as always, we hope to see you out there, and we wish you happy sailing.